everyone, my name is Jane Dean. Today we will be discussing preparing your documents for your K1 visa interview. So after you submitted your I-129F form that we handled in the previous video, you will get an email from your embassy saying lots of information. If you are like me and you're just looking everywhere to go see what documents you need, if that is really the only documents you need, how to prepare, all that things, you will also go on their site, USCIS site that I listed in my previous video. I will list it in this one too. But you will go to that site and you will look for the documents you need for this visa. And they will have a list of things you need. But then your embassy will also have sent you a big list of things you need, as well as the locations of where you can do your medical. And you will see, if you compare the two lists, that the list on the USCIS is much smaller, but it contains extra like proof of relationship evidence that your embassy, the embassy in South Africa, doesn't include on their list, but they include a lot more things. If it makes sense, the two lists doesn't measure up, and in the end what I did is I just took both of the lists, compiled them, and got every single document so that I was 100% sure. So I'm not really going to touch on what the list says because you'll probably be able to pull it up yourself. I'm going to touch on what was in my folder the day when I went to the interview. First thing that you want to do is you want to go get passport photos, because they ask for passport photos in everything. They ask for passport photos or visa photos for the DS-160 form, for the medical, at your interview, everything. And then next you want to start applying for your DS-160. This is a thing where you go on the internet, and for any visa that you get through the United States that I know of, you have to get this DS-160 first before you can schedule your interview. We'll be having a cat show again today. It seems like I just don't know how to get her away when I'm filming, so this is something we'll have to deal with. I think it's a good thing that my logo is a cat. The other thing apart from the DS-160 is you want to go see where you can get your medical done, because the medical is a thing that you have to go get done, and you have to schedule this early because you want to make sure that you get a spot for it. So that's the first things you want to get done, and then you'll feel you have a medical appointment, you at least have your DS-160, even though I wouldn't suggest making an interview before you don't have all your documents, because... Just a quick disclaimer, in the next few clips there's a little piece of box down here that you can see. It's just because my phone right now is standing on a little box. I don't have a camera with a tripod or whatever, and I reposition it so that it would be in the middle of the couch and that everything would line up. And I didn't notice that it was facing a little bit downwards and showed a piece of this box. So just ignore it, please. I'm not going to reshoot it because I want things to be a conversation and not so rehearsed. And I don't like repeating myself, so hopefully it doesn't put you off too much. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. You might schedule your interview and then you still haven't gotten any of your documents, like you might not have your police clearance yet. It's really things that you can't really control, so I would at least have applied for all my documents. Like I would at least have made sure that I've applied for my police clearance and I'm waiting for it before I schedule my interview. It's not the first thing that you want to do, but it's also not the last thing you want to do, because the spaces fill up really quickly and you only have a certain period. You only have that 4 months. So it is a little bit of a tricky thing with timing, and I have to say that I did not make it within that time frame. But they are pretty lenient. If you have a good excuse, you can email them, reach out to them, your embassy, and ask for an extension period. So what happened with me was my police clearance took way longer than what it had to. And in the end, I waited like 3 months for my police clearance to be done. So I had no choice but to ask for an extension. So I got another 4 months to have my interview. I probably overdid it with the amount of documents I had, but I wanted to make sure that I had extra rather than not everything. But the thing that you want to be sure of is if you have a lot of extra documents, that you label your things correctly so that you don't misplace it or not know what is what on the day of your interview. So what I did is I made a little index. It looks like this. And I put just the major things, the numbers of what because every form has a specific number and I didn't exactly know the numbers, so I made sure I put the numbers there for in case they ask for the number form, if that makes any sense. So the forms that I have in my folder is, of course, the confirmation page of your DS-160 as well as passport photos. Then I also printed out the email that the embassy sent me with all the steps and documents that I needed and the places I can go to for medical. I am pretty scared that people will tell me I don't have all the things or I didn't go to the right places. So I wanted proof that they told me that this is what I needed and that's where I had to go. So I also had my appointment confirmation page. It's also something that they say you have to have with you, as well as my payment receipt. And that is actually something that they did want to look at, is the payment receipt. As I go along, I will say what they actually looked at and what they didn't look at all, because there was a lot of things that I had that they didn't even care about. I had a copy of my previous visa as well as a copy of my passport page, just for in case they wanted to see it or have it or keep it. I don't know why, but they didn't look at it at all. So all of these documents that I just mentioned, I had in one little file and we called it number 1, DS-116 confirmation pages, etc. I had my photos pinned on with a little paper clip to my DS confirmation page. They also did take 2 photos. The second file, I had the notice of action, the I-797, that said the petition was approved and for how long it was approved. I also made a copy of that. And then in that I also had the email that said that my approval notice was extended. I didn't want them to see the date on the approval notice and maybe tell me, well, no, it's not valid anymore, after they did tell me they extended it. So I wanted to have proof once again that that's what they told me. They didn't ask for the I-797, they didn't ask for proof of extension. Yeah, they didn't even look at that one time, but this is something that I feel like they might actually want to see if you get to someone that's a little bit more grumpy who's interviewing you. Number 3 was the I-129F. That's the first petition that I discussed in the previous video. I had a copy of that with me. Just if they wanted to see it, to have more info. One of my friends that also did the process said they wanted to see hers, but once again, they didn't even look at mine. Number 4 that I have on here is important. It's the relationship evidence. This is something that they actually, out of everything that I just said, it's one of the things that the first things that they wanted to see. So the relationship evidence includes things like receipts of where you've been, photos of you two together, notes exchanged, any type of thing that's sentimental that you can explain. I had a lot of things, again, that didn't really matter. I had the receipt for my engagement ring, the upgrade to my diamond. I had little notes. Mike used to send me flowers to South Africa, so I had 4 different notes of times he sent me flowers and wrote to me. Then I also had tickets that we had to go to a museum. And then I just made a little something special with all the photos we had, because I didn't want to just print out a lot of photos and give it to them. I wanted to explain the things that I gave to them. So I made a little bookie with from the first time we spoke, printouts of our text conversations and photos and places we went to. I made a little timeline until like present time. And so I included photos of us with our families together, us on trips together, and just us at like the home together. And then I also wrote like little notes explaining everything for them. This is actually something that I haven't seen people doing, but I knew I was a little confused onto how to approach the evidence part of this. So that's what I did, but you can do, some people just put photos in a folder and that's what they give. It's not that big of a deal as long as it's like sufficient evidence. With my evidence, I also had wedding planning evidence, which sounds now like a different section, which it is kind of, because the interview, part of the things that they're looking for is that when you get to the States, you're actually planning on marrying. I can't remember exactly where I saw that it helps to include wedding planning information, but I put in a receipt for my wedding dress. At this point, some people probably won't be planning their wedding already, but I wanted to make sure that I had things in place. So I had emails from places that I contacted and just little things like that. But that is also things that they didn't look at. After they looked at all my evidence, they did give everything back to me. Number 6 that I have is the I-134 and tax returns. This is the form that is sort of proof that your fiance can care for you while you're here. So the I-134 and the tax returns that I actually took, I don't have it anymore. I wish I made a copy because I'm actually make copies of everything and I'm surprised it's empty. I'm surprised that I don't have a copy of it. The next thing that they want is an unabridged certificate. If you don't have this yet, it's just, in South Africa, it says your normal birth certificate doesn't include some information, but then the unabridged certificate is a more thorough birth certificate. I was lucky that I went on a Europe tour, so I actually had it, but if you don't have it, it might be something that you have to think about early in this process to actually get, so that you're prepared, because it might take some time to get. So I actually had a copy of that too, and they took the copy, not the real thing. And then number 8, the next file, I had my American police clearance and my South African police clearance. On the site it says you have to have a police clearance for places you've lived in longer than 6 months. That's why I had my United States police clearance as well, because I worked for a year in the United States. They didn't end up taking that one because at the interview they said, no, it's only police clearance if you've lived there for longer than a year, and I didn't live there longer for a year. So it was actually a police clearance that I got for nothing. The last folder is the medical stuff. You get a copy of the vaccination documentation worksheet. I actually cannot remember if they took anything of the medical or wanted to see anything. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I do think they did take a copy of the vaccination documentation. I remember they asked for something about it. The medical place sends all your stuff directly to the embassy, so you don't have to take like any of your blood sample things back with you after your medical. The only thing that you do have is a vaccination worksheet. Yeah, and x-rays you didn't have to take. I had the x-rays in my bag for in case. I still have it here. I think I'm supposed to file it somewhere after I'm married, which I haven't come to that point yet, so that's things that I still have to do research about. That was everything in my folder. As you can see, I overdid it. I definitely had more than what I should have had. I made copies of everything. I can't stress more how I think being thorough is just the best that you can be. I think the people at the embassy appreciate it just so much more too. So going for the medical and doing the police clearance and stuff is all things that I think people can do on their own. If there's any questions on it, I would definitely answer them. Yeah, the medical, you just have to make an appointment. That was pretty easy. They list everything you have to take with you. You go there, it takes about like half a day, and police clearance, obviously you have to go to a police station and then they help you with that. So that is all the documents that I can think of explaining or saying. I can quickly run through it one more time. So number 1 is the DS-160 form, all your confirmation pages, your proof of payments, and your visa photos. Number 2, the I-797, the notice of action, as well as a printout email if you had to extend it. Number 3, the I-129F, this is your original petition. Number 4, your relationship evidence. Number 5, wedding planning evidence. Number 6, the I-134, which is the proof of financial stability as well as the tax returns. Number 7, your unabridged birth certificates. Number 8, all your police clearances. Number 9, your DS-325, which is just proof of your vaccinations. And remember to make copies of everything. So I'm hoping that this really helped you in organizing your own folder. And in the next video, I will be talking about the actual interview itself and what you do after. Thank you for being on this ride with me today of the 9 different topical documents you need. And I hope to see you in the next video, all prepared with your folder in your hand, ready to learn about the interview process. I hope to see you there. Bye-bye.